Hello everyone, and this is again Alexander Semenenko from Voronezh. Today I will continue to present my ebook, Rigvedic Papers, the second volume of it. And today we will speak about the first two chapters of the second volume, the third and the fourth chapters of the book. We will continue to consider the problem of Ashva in Rigveda. From the first chapter, we have already seen that Ashva in Rigveda is not only or exclusively a horse, but also a horned deer. This evidence is contained in the first late mandala of Rigveda. Two times the animal is described, Ashva is described as having branchy horns and living in a forest. So it is evidently a horned deer. The next chapter, the third chapter of the second volume of my ebook, this is the usual dedication to my scientific guru Sri Aurobindo Ghosh. And in advance, I'd like to apologize for the possible mistakes I will surely make while presenting you the video. And I want to thank my young daughter Sophia for assisting as a video operator while making this film. So, and the first chapter of the book is dedicated, the first in this volume and the third in the book, is dedicated to goats as being the chariot animals, the animals drawn chariots of Pushan and Maruts, of Pushan in Rigveda. So the title of the book is Goats as yoked into the chariot of Pushan in Rigveda, and they are in the European parallels. In Rigveda, into its layers, in the earliest layer of the family mandalas and mandala the ninth, and in the later mandala, the mandala 1, we find quite a few, not just a few, but quite many references to Ashvas, that is goats, called Ashvas, and being described as drawing the chariot of Pushan. Pushan himself is at least 2 times called the best charioteer, but his goats are evidently, with all certainty, Ashvas, not horses. So the goats are Ashvas, not horses. This is the second example when already the second animal, not being a horse, but being described as Ashva in Rigveda. And when I compare this textual evidence of Rigveda, of the earliest Indo-European text, with the art tradition, if one may say so, of ancient Indo-Europeans, later when compared to Rigveda, we see the corroboration of this concept of goats as being chariot animals of the gods or some personages. So the earliest evidence I was able to find is the Minoan seal, dated to 1490 to 1370 BCE. It is from Ashmolean Museum, Oxford. It comes from Crete Island in the East Mediterranean Sea, and here we see a very clear picture of 2 goats drawing the chariot with 2 charioteers on it. The chariot has spoked wheels and a body and draft pole, so everything is very clear. Next depiction comes from Crete Island also. It's a bit later. It dates to 1370 to 1320 BCE, and this is part of the decoration of a Minoan sarcophagus, a fresco. And here we see, I will show the closer view, and here we see two goats yoked into the chariot. Here we see the traces of the horns. And after the publication of this book, I have found at least 5 scientific papers, articles, the authors of which stated that these are evidently and definitely goats and not horses. So it's correct. We see here again a true chariot and 2 goats yoked into it. Then we have a chronological break, and again we have ceramic tradition of ancient Greeks, of the same Indo-European tradition, but quite much later. Here we have the red figured vessel from Athens, dated to 425 to 375 BC. Here we have a child sitting on a cart drawn by a goat. Next is a red figured vase from Athens, dated around 400 BCE. And here we have a grown-up standing in a true chariot, but with disc wheels, drawn by 2 goats, 2 large goats. And then we have this is the closer view. Then we have one more Arctic vase made in Athens, but it was found in the eastern Crimean Peninsula and is dated in Kerch and is dated to the 4th century BC. Here we have a goat cart with a sitting person in it, 2 goats. Then we have a grown-up person. Then we have one more red figure vessel dated to the same century BC, the 4th century BC. And here we see a true chariot drawn by 2 goats with a man, with a charioteer standing on it. Then we have a clay composition found in tomb 240 in Thebes, that is Greece, somewhere central Greece. It is from the Archaeological Museum of Thebes in Greece. It's dated to approximately 300 BCE. And here we see a god depicted as drawing a chariot. You see the railing system, the handle, you see the spoked wheel with 2 goats driving the chariot. So it is evidently a chariot drawn by 2 goats. Then we have one more depiction of some god, a goddess, probably goddess. It is winged. This is the feature of the divine person, and it is standing on a chariot drawn by 2 goats. This clay figurine is dated to 300 to 100 BCE, and it was sold at Christie's auction in London, in South Kensington. It's from Greece also. Then we come to the other Indo-European tradition depicting goats as driving animals of the gods. We have numerous silver coins dated by the same year of the existence of Roman Republic, pre-empire epoch. So we have the year 138 BCE, and we have many coins depicting the same chariot goats, drawing the chariot of a goddess. You see this goddess, true chariot, spoked wheels, so very many. I will just show it to you quickly, not to stay on this for a long time. They are very many, and I was not, of course, able to find each example, each and every example of this depiction. So you see this cult was widespread, and they even issued the coins, silver coins, with this pattern depicting 2 goats as drawing a chariot of a Roman, one of the most important Roman goddesses. So we have the incorporation of the concept of goats as being chariot animals early in the European tradition. When horses became the dominant chariot animals of Indo-Europeans, all other animals that had previously been used or just experimented to be yoked into the chariot, like bulls or goats or even deer, they were moved into the sacred sphere of religion and mythology and stayed there for a long time as chariot animals of gods. So we see this very clearly in these coins of Roman Republic. These are not just simple chariot goats. These are sacred goats of a goddess. So they are sacred, the chariot is sacred, the animals are sacred. Very many, all of the same year. All this you can find in the book with all references from the auction houses where these coins were sold or have been sold and from the museums. Now we have more examples of this pattern. This is the clay bowl. It is Roman. It is from the workshop of Cornelius from Toscana, Italy. It was found in Arezzo, Toscana, Italy. And we have an inside relief. And here we have the goat chariot. It's dated between between the 10th year BCE and the 20th year AD already. Then we have famous Pompeii, not later than 79 AD, when there was an eruption that eliminated Pompeii, so to say, covered it with a great mass of earth and of volcanic materials. So we have the so-called the House of Painters at Work in Fula 12 at Pompeii, and here we have a fresco depicting several goat chariots. The chariots are for erots. There are many erots driving those goat chariots. A closer picture, so very evident, the true chariot, spoked wheels, and a charioteer, and two goats drawing this chariot. Then we have some ancient Roman seals made from glass paste, dated to 100 to 300 AD. Again, a rod driving a chariot drawn by two goats. Then we have a marble relief from Louvre Museum at Paris, in Paris, the 2nd century AD, and we have here again a child driving in a chariot drawn by a goat. Then we have one more Roman sarcophagus, and this is the cover from it. This cover, the fragment of this cover, it's from marble. It was sold at Sotheby's auction, and it's dated to 250 to 270 AD. And here we see a disc-wheeled true chariot with two goats. And one more in the European tradition had the very interesting descriptions of the divine goats drawing the divine chariot of a god. I'm talking now about the North Germanic or Scandinavian tradition of Ida, the Old Edda and the Senior Edda and the Junior Edda. And we have the poems composed in ancient German language. And here in the end of this chapter, I give the original of the text, and here you see the highlighted words describing this chariot and these goats of Thor. Thor is parallel to Parjanya and Indra, Thunderer, so one of the most important and prominent gods of Indo-Europeans. And here we have the original describing his goat chariot. By the way, it's dated, it's from the first one is earlier. It's from the Old Edda Humisquitha book. It's survived in two manuscripts dated to subsequently 1250 to 1300 and 1300 to 1325 AD, but this poem reflects the ancient German religion before the adoption of Christianity by the Scandinavian tribes. And here we have this poem. The poem was probably composed on the base of ancient German myths between 900 and 1200 AD. And here we have 4 times chariot team of goats described belonging to Thor. Here we have the highlighted original. One can check my words. And here we have the translation. The magnificently horned goats, the Lord of he goats, Lord of goats, glory these goats. So this is the earlier part of Edda. And then we have the other poem of the same book, of the same Old Edda. We again have the depiction of goats that were driven, so they were used for drawing a chariot. Then we have the so-called Junior Edda of Snorri Sturluson, dated to 1222 to 1225. And we have here a very, very long description of Thor's goats, the whole legend about them. And I will just cite you the parts describing these goats. Öku Thor drove forth with his he-goats and chariot. About evening Thor took his he-goats and slaughtered them both. After that they were flayed and borne to the cauldron. When the cooking was done, then Thor and his companions sat down to supper. Thor invited to meet with him the husbandman and his wife and their children. The husbandman's son was called Thjalfi, and the daughter Röskva. Then Thor laid the goat hides farther away from the fire and said that the husbandman and his servants should cast the bones of the goat on the goat hides. Thjalfi, the husbandman's son, was holding a thigh bone of the goat, and split it with his knife, and broke it for the marrow. Thor tarried there overnight, and in the interval before day he rose up and clothed himself, took the hammer Mjolnir, that is the analogy to Rigvedic Vajra, swung it up and hollowed the goat hides. Straightway the he-goats rose up, and then one of them was lame in a hind leg. Thor discovered this and declared that the husbandman or his household couldn't have dealt wisely with the bones of the goat, he knew that the thigh bone was broken. So a very clear, very exact description of the goat chariot. And then we have the continuation. Thereupon he left his goats behind. Thor had with him no chariot and no he goats, which means that usually he had these he goats and the chariot drawn by them. So we see from this chapter, from the third chapter of the book and from the first chapter of the second volume of the book, Rigvedic Papers, by me, that Ashvas in Rigveda are not only horses or exclusively horses, but also goats of Pushan. This is the conclusion, and it is very evident and very good proved and grounded. So, and the next chapter we are going to talk today is the third chapter of the book. It also deals with the problem of Ashva in Rigveda, the other aspect of this problem. And here we see that not only goats and not only horned deer, but also birds are described in Rigveda as drawing chariots of gods, such as Ashvins most often, and one time Maruts, and has been called Ashvas. The birds are called Ashvas. Flying birds, especially eagles or hawks, are called Ashvas. That means that in Rigveda, Ashva means not just horse or exclusively horse, but any swift creature, any swift creature which can move fast. So we see the descriptions of these birds as drawing the chariot from different mandalas of Rigveda. The first mandala, the fourth mandala, the family cycle, the oldest. You see here Ashvan Vayo Arushasach. So we see here Ashvas, birds. They are flaming birds or red birds, so to say, purple birds. Then again from the family cycle, the fifth mandala, again from the family cycle, again from the family cycle, the sixth mandala, the eighth mandala, a later part of Rigveda, again the later part of Rigveda, again. So very clearly we see many times the assertion that Ashvas are birds of Ashvins and one time of Maruts. And when we turn to the old to other Indo-European tradition to find the corroborations for this concept in other Indo-European traditions,